This is the new era. This is the new band, and we're unbreakable.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology. We can make him better than he was. Better, stronger, faster. Actually, better, stronger,
faster. Is that a
faster.
line from Starship Troopers or something?
No, it's actually the $1 Million Man.
$6 Million Man. I know that, and
I don't even know what that is.
We Brits don't do excitement, so this is the best you're gonna get.
Chris is bringing the noise today, apparently.
Speaking of vanilla,
it's just I don't understand why.
I don't think anyone does. I don't think Travis Green understands.
Talking you through every goalie controversy, scoring slump, and draft lottery bust. This is the C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com and CKNW.com. Here they are, the best starting lineup we could afford under the salary cap. Chris, Anna, Matt, and Adam.
So hot in here.
It's going to be a struggle.
How are you wearing a sweater and jeans right now?
My thought process is to leave the sweater on as long as possible, and then when I can't take it anymore, take it off. And then I'll really appreciate it.
See, I'm going to be upfront with you. I'm wearing the exact same clothes that I wore last week.
Yeah,
and apparently I didn't
learn.
learn.
Lycra. You think you would have learned?
No, because this is what I wear on my bike rides home. So this is literally this is the only pair of clothing that I have that's not work.
But you're wearing shorts over the Lycra. You can take the Lycra off.
You want me to take the shorts? Oh, I see what you're saying. I could take the Lycra off, but then I'll be too cold when I go outside.
Yeah, but then you... Anyway.
Do you want me to get changed in here? Don't answer that question. Tag team episode, Matt Lee and Adam Ovenel Carter here for a dynamic duo show of the C4 Podcast. Very quickly, which one of us is Pettersson? Which one is Boeser?
I think you're stockier than I am, so I would say you're Boeser.
Okay, I can live with that.
Okay. And
you're very,
Pettersson
you're
and I
very
have the
thin
exact
build.
same build.
Yeah, you're both like 160 pounds.
Yeah, I'm about 5 pounds heavier than Pettersson.
Meanwhile, Chris Golden and Anna Forsyth getting a much-deserved Monday off from the show. However, we do expect them both to be back next week, so we should have a full house next week. A reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at MattLee_61 and at AdamFOC. Do you even still tweet? When's the last time you tweeted?
Oh,
Be honest. It's okay.
Months ago is about the show, but I don't tweet a lot.
Meanwhile, Chris Golden, you can follow him at Lightforce and Anna at AForsyth03. Very quickly, a reminder or a shout out first to our patrons who are listening live on Discord. A reminder, you can get live access to every C4 podcast by subscribing on Patreon. The URL right now is www.patreon.com/C4podcast. As I log on to live Discord right now, everyone can hear me, I believe. So, yes, everybody should be able to hear me. Do you mind doing me a favor, tweeting it out in patron chat, by the way, that we're live on Discord at the moment?
Can do.
You can do that while I make stuff up. What are we doing? We're watching something?
No, I need you to pass me my phone.
Oh, right. We're also watching the Seattle Seahawks game here at the same time. Multitasking, if you will. Very quickly, and I don't want to inundate everybody with my boring fantasy life, but Chris Carson, please get held in check today.
You just ran for about 7
No, stop! You can't do that anymore.
7 yards. That's
You've done that 3 times so far tonight. Very quickly, as we get towards the Christmas season, I wanted to ask you, off topic before we get to the F word, which I don't know if you have anything prepared, but have you done your holiday shopping yet?
I haven't even started.
Are you a procrastinator?
No, usually I'm fully done at this point. This year, I don't know, it's just been a busy year. I actually have a real job this time around. So
what was your real job last year?
I was bartending. Doesn't count.
That's still a real job.
Yeah, but I mean, I can go out during the day. I don't have daytime hours anymore.
Yeah. I've been trying to do that at work at the same time as you type out that we're live on Discord. Why don't you talk and ask me some questions?
All right, should we just make this the F word?
Yeah, we can do that, actually.
All right, well, let me improvise here. So, obviously we're going to talk about the last game against St. Louis. Elias Pettersson, 5 points. Brock Boeser, a hat trick. But is it cause for concern, do you think, that Josh Levo, by the way, Levo, we got that wrong.
We were saying Levo, weren't we?
We were.
Yeah.
But held scoreless. Not a point when his line mates were putting up 5 and a hat trick. Obviously too early for a concern, but does that mitigate your expectations for him? Where do you stand on
Okay,
Josh
so sorry,
Levo?
summarize the question for me one more time.
Okay. Pettersson gets 5 points.
Yes.
Boeser gets a hat trick.
Yes.
Josh Levo, for the most part, playing on that line.
Get 0.
gets 0.
Yes.
Is that concerning for you, or is that just...
No, it's not too much of a concern. I will say that, I mean, obviously we saw Josh Levo score in his first game against the Minnesota Wild. It was a great-looking shot. It's a heavy shot. Just because he's sort of a bystander, if you will, towards the magic that Pettersson and Boeser were doing over the weekend, I don't think it necessarily means that the Canucks should be ringing off alarm bells. I think Josh Levo is acclimating himself to playing with elite talents like Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser. I think if you get, it's better, let's put it this way, it's better to give him an extended look on that top line and to see what they have in Josh Levo than to panic prematurely and pull him off the top line. Agree or disagree?
I think that's fair. We also saw Goldobin on that line, and that bang, bang, bang play for Canucks' third or fourth goal, I think, was a thing of beauty. Do you have a preference, looking up and down the lineup, do you have a preference on who you'd like to see consistently with Boeser and Pettersson?
My preference, honestly, after the Josh Levo experiment has sort of come and gone, would be to go back to Nikolai Goldobin. And I say this only because despite Goldobin not finding the back of the net on the many, many chances he's had with Pettersson, he is still very much a talented winger that deserves, or not deserves, but should be playing with talented players. And we've heard on and on about the chemistry on and off the ice that Pettersson and Goldobin have. And I think when it's all said and done, we're going to see Goldobin was the most consistent line mate of Pettersson that's not named Brock Boeser. And for me, I think that's a trio of players that should be making up the top line for Vancouver going forward.
You said we've heard a lot about the chemistry between Pettersson and Goldobin, but I think we've seen very clearly the chemistry between Boeser and Pettersson. Do you think that Boeser and Pettersson have a future together, or are they going to be? We're getting ahead of ourselves here, but we've seen it already.
Somebody asked me this question the other day, and to be honest, I didn't have an answer for them. But when I see what Pettersson and what Boeser do together as a duo, it's hard for me not to get excited about the possibility that they can be in the same conversation as the Mikko Rantanen and Nathan MacKinnon duo. And I'm not trying to compare those two to them because I think MacKinnon is a elite/borderline generational talent and Rantanen is very much elite. But I think they have the opportunity to be in the same hemisphere as those guys. Like I'm saying 85-point guys each. And Rantanen and MacKinnon, they could be 100-point guys, but I don't think it's that far off. I don't think it's that crazy that Pettersson and Boeser could be point-per-game guys on the top line for Vancouver for the next 10 years.
Yeah, all right.
To that point, Elias Pettersson named the NHL's first star of the week. Of course, his second second 5-point game of the season, Adam. Very quick trivia question for you, and I know you know the answer to this already. There are 3 Canuck players in history that have had 2 or more 5-point games in their tenure with the Vancouver Canucks. Very first 2, were very easy. Do you want to rattle those off for me?
Sorry, we should clarify 3 excluding Pettersson. So 4
excluding
four
Pettersson, that's right.
So first 2 easy, Bure and McGillney.
Absolutely.
Yes.
By the way,
yeah.
I was looking at Wyatt Arnott, the stanchion. He talked about how Alexander McGillney was underappreciated in his time. Agree or disagree?
I think he was underappreciated his entire career. McGillney, you look at the numbers, he was an amazing
He had
player.
100 points with the Canucks. You realize that,
yeah,
right? In
I
one
know.
season.
I was talking to my buddy watching the game the other day when they brought up McGillney's name. How did the Canucks not do more with McGillney and Bure?
It begins and ends with Mark Messier.
Yeah, fair. But he was a great player, and he never really gets talked in the same breath as a lot of these other greats that I think he should be. Anyway, those 2 were easy. Took me a while to get Cliff Ronning as the third.
Yes, that was a tough one. I heard a lot of guesses. Martin Jelena, Marcus Naslund was one of the guesses.
Yeah, Naslin's a fair guess.
Bertuzzi was one of the guesses. Not many guesses for Cliff Ronning, but yes, Cliff Ronning, the only other Canuck not named Bure, McGillney, and Pettersson now that have 2 or more 5-point games. Other notable stat here, Daniel and Henrik Sedin. They each had 1 5-point game each over a combined 2,600 NHL games, according to Jeff Patterson. Pettersson now has 2 in 26 NHL games.
Yeah, he's a different player than those 2. Just more dynamic.
Oh, he's so good to watch.
Yeah,
and
it's
this is going to be a Pettersson love fest for the next 15 or 20 minutes, Adam. But you see what Pettersson did in Colorado with that 5-point game, and now what he did to St. Louis over the weekend as well. Is it hard not to start putting Pettersson into the elite territory right now, 26 games into his career?
Well, he's already over a point a game, is he not?
Yes.
Yeah.
30 points,
I
26
get
games.
2 5-point games in a small sample size might skew things.
Yeah.
But when you watch him play, there's no reason to doubt that he has that kind of talent, you know? Like, he's playing up to those numbers. Or living up to the numbers, I should say. So, yeah, I mean, he has elite talent, and it's just a matter, will he do it consistently? And I think he can.
Okay. Moving forward to the next point about Pettersson, the Calder Trophy race. The Calder Trophy race. I don't know what is it called.
Calder?
It's the Calder. I keep calling it the Calder for some reason.
Why?
Because I'm dumb.
Yeah, well, we knew that.
Is it much of a race? Elias Pettersson, I believe he has 30 points in those 26 games. They're 12 more than the next closest scorer, or next closest rookie, Colin White, with 18. Brady Tkachuk has 16. His 15 goals, 6 more than the next closest rookie, Tkachuk, again, with 9. His 15 assists are 3 more than the next closest, which is Rasmus Dahlin. And 26 of his 30 points are primary points. So they're not secondary assists we're talking about. 26 of his 30 points. Is that good? It sounds good.
That's pretty incredible. It just doesn't really happen to anybody.
Other notable stat, Elias Pettersson has yet to score an empty net goal in his career so far, too. So we're not talking cheap goals either.
Mott's got 4 goals this year. I think 2 of them are empty netters.
Yeah.
It's his. I'd said at the beginning of the year it was Dahlin's to lose. It's now Pettersson's to lose. And I like he's running away with it right now.
Yeah.
It would take a big time slip up for that to happen. I don't even know. You know, he's done so much already that he's so high in people's minds. I think that if he didn't score for a month, he might still be in the lead in points, and it would still be his trophy to lose.
I think Seattle just scored a touchdown. You can verify that for me. While I talk about if the Calder Trophy nominations and the ballots were all put in right now, would Elias Pettersson be a unanimous choice? Like, would he get all first place votes?
He should. I can't. Maybe
there's got to be someone out there that will say Brady Tkachuk should get a first place vote. I think, but I would say he should get 95% of the first place votes if the Calder Trophy race ended today. It should be 100%.
No rookie has been close to him.
So let's assume that it gets to the end of the season and Pettersson continues on this trajectory. He should be a unanimous choice to be the Calder Trophy winner. Calder Trophy.
Yes.
That should go in the drink game, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I call it the Calder Trophy.
Should we tell the listeners what that's about?
Okay, so we're talking about this a little bit, the C4 drinking game, if you will. So anytime Chris, for example, drops an old man reference, like something from the 80s, a Top Gun reference, something to that effect, take a drink. Anna, any British slang, take a drink. What are the other ones you got?
When you and I do something romantic.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's going to get people drunk pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So send in your suggestions, by the way, to any of us in Discord. We'll always take those. The other thing I want to talk about, again, more Elias Pettersson talk here, Adam. Let's revisit the 2017 NHL Draft. Craig Button going on Vancouver radio today saying, let's face it, essentially right now, Elias Pettersson is the best player in the 2017 NHL Draft. So going back, Nico Hischier, Nolan Patrick, Miro Heiskanen, Henry Jokiharju, Casey Middlestat, Michael Rasmussen. Remember when we were talking about that guy for a hot minute? Philip Hedl. In your mind, if you redid the 2017 NHL Draft today, is Elias Pettersson the unanimous number one choice?
Well, he's the number one pick. I think a guy like Hischier might be still in the conversation just because he is that good. Matt is hooked on the Seattle game.
I'm listening.
I know, but I like Heiskanen a lot.
I think Heiskanen could be the one big threat.
Yeah, he's going to be good. He's young, obviously. I think he's the biggest threat right now.
I would say so too. Like, all due respect to Nico Hischier right now, who's doing all right in New Jersey, and Nolan Patrick. Elias Pettersson has more points than both of those guys combined this season, Adam. When it's all said and done, Elias Pettersson, in my mind, will at the very least be the best forward in that draft class.
Yeah.
The only possible threat in my mind, as it stands, would be Miro Heiskanen, who could be a number 1/elite level defenseman.
Which, fair enough, that'd be great to have. But having an elite number 1 40 goal scoring, 100-point center is just as valuable.
I think this is a bit of a lesson for you and I, because when we picked 5th overall, crushed again by the NHL draft lottery, you got to trust the process sometimes. And the Vancouver Canucks did their homework. They brought in Elias Pettersson before the draft. They had dinner with him and the Sedins. He was their guy, it seemed like, from the very start. Cody Glass, we didn't even just mention here, by the way, in the 2017 draft class.
It's true.
And that was who you and I were banging on the table for. So when the Vancouver Canucks took Elias Pettersson, I'll be honest, wasn't that happy. Didn't care. More indifferent than anything. But Elias Pettersson, again, as we discussed, could be the best player in the 2017 NHL draft class. The Vancouver Canucks in 2019, hosting the draft here at home, may also not get the first overall draft pick, but they could still get a elite level player anywhere between 1, 5, or 7.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it on and off the air. I think it's a deep draft this year. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We have to go to it. So, yeah, I think you're right. We don't know anything. We're armchair GMs who like to watch prospects and get excited about potential Canuck futures. But, yeah, you're right. We do need to just kind of, we're sitting in a booth for a reason, So.
One more note on Pettersson. All this said, you and I are very excited about Pettersson, but is it necessary that the Canucks need to rein in the hype, if you will, on Pettersson? Ian McIntyre writes that, he wrote this headline: could Elias Pettersson be the best player in Canucks history? It's a ridiculous question now, but it may not be in 4 or 5 years. Is there something to be said about cooling the jets, if you will, on all this Pettersson hype talk?
That's tough because you want to get excited. He's finally something that's completely rejuvenated the fan base, more than Boeser did. So you don't really want to slow that down, but at the same time, he's got all the potential to be the best player, but that's getting ahead of ourselves, putting the cart before the horse. We'll see what happens, but there's no reason to not be incredibly excited about him.
Okay. As we segue from Pettersson to his line mate, Brock Boeser, it's becoming more and more apparent that the two are feeding off of each other, Adam. It has obviously not been the sophomore season that I think a lot of us had hoped from Brock Boeser, but worth pointing out, since returning from that groin injury in November, Boeser's now rattled off 5 goals and 6 points in 6 games. Yes, I know 3 of those coming in the most recent game. Now back on track for a 30-plus goal season, provided he remains healthy for the rest of the year. Is this something a bit of a turning point, if you will, for Brock Boeser's season?
Well, I think you and I kind of talked about it earlier, the chemistry these two have. If it takes a little while for them to figure it out and become this dynamic duo that we've seen, then I think that's okay. Remember last year on the power play, the only play the Canucks had was to feed Boeser for the shot, right? And now
there's this option on the other side of the ice.
And they're kind of always going to Pettersson now.
Yep.
But so that's going to take away from some of his production. But he's still just as dangerous. He's still, pots most of his opportunities. He's been snake bitten the past little bit, aside from the game in St. Louis. So I don't think there's any cause for concern. If anything, there's just more promise now that these two are really finding a groove together.
We talked about Josh Levo earlier in the show, so we'll skip forward towards Bo Horvat. Now up to 28 points in 32 games. And I think a lot of us, we've talked about this earlier in the season, but we sort of dismissed it, that there would be a cooling off period for Bo Horvat, that he couldn't produce at a point per game. But here we are, into the month of December now, and he's got 28 points in 32 games. It's obviously not quite a point per game, but how excited are you getting about Bo Horvat? The fact that he seems to keep improving year after year after year now in his 4th NHL season.
Yeah, he's been playing so well for the team.
Yeah.
Better than I think any of us ever really saw him playing. He's playing like, say, a number 1 center or like a true captain. He will be.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, yes.
So, yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised with Horvat. He's been getting better and better every year, which when you look at a guy like Crosby, that was something he always did, right? He's been at the top for so long, but he always found something to get better at. And with Horvat, it started with his skating, and now, it's his goal scoring. It's his
face-offs now.
Face-offs, exactly, right? So there's always something. I'm not putting him on Crosby's level, but that's just something you're never satisfied. You're always going up and up. And it's been 5 years in the NHL now? And he's just becoming a better and better player.
I think it's his fourth season. 2014-15 was his rookie year, so that would make this year his fourth season. 2014-15, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17. No, it's fifth season.
Yeah.
Sorry. The other thing I felt I've noticed about Bo Horvat, he seems to produce no matter who his line mates are.
Yeah, and that's something I was just thinking of. Who I don't know how many different combinations.
He's had a lot. Like, it's been Granlund, it's been Virtanen, it's been Roussel, it's been Schaller.
But Boeser and Pettersson have been together pretty much the entire season, I feel like, right? So, and they haven't been playing with Horvat.
And that leaves Horvat to pick up the second line. Like,
exactly.
He's going in with a carousel of line mates on the second line, but he still keeps finding ways to produce.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that gets me to my next point. Sven Berchi. He took some hard drills this morning in practice. It looks like, I don't want to say he's close to returning because you can never tell with concussions, of course. But Sven Berchi seems to be that anchor, if you will, for Bo Horvat. He looks like he wants to be back with Sven Berchi sooner rather than later. I mean, first of all, Sven Berchi, who goes down when he returns to this lineup? Is it Adam Gaudette? Is it Tim Schaller? Is it Alex Biega? Those seem to be the three candidates for who goes down.
I think it should be Gaudette. I think he's been looking a little lost lately. And that's not a bad thing. He's a young player in his first full season. He just needs a little more time. He went right from college to the pros. It's a pretty big jump. Some people it's easier than others. So I'd like to see him go down, get some more time, and build up his confidence down in Utica.
Let's not forget, he's the easy target. Doesn't require waivers, unlike Alex Biega and Tim Schaller. But I do think it's worth noting, like, Tim Schaller has probably been the most disappointing free agent acquisition so far this offseason. I mean, we look at guys that we brought in over the course of the season, Antoine Roussel and Jay Beagle. They've all brought something to the table. It's not necessarily points, but Tim Schaller really hasn't seemed to bring in a whole lot else.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those guys that you just can't get excited about because they don't do anything exciting. I mean, they don't, like, he's brought in there to be a forechecker, and he's just softly dumping the puck in and not doing anything. Like, there's just nothing to get excited about him. I'd be happy to see him go down or be scratched.
Does he get claimed?
Probably not, because
1.9.
That's crazy for
a fourth line
replacement level player.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is, and it's only a 1 year deal, right? So it's fine in the long run, but yeah.
All right, well, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get into a little bit more overall Canucks discussion, a little bit more questions about this ongoing youth movement happening for the Vancouver Canucks. All continues here, C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on that.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? And that because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
Half full, half empty. It's really hot in here. Did you ever see the movie Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls?
Come on. I'm a year younger than you. Of course I have.
That's what this feels like. We're in the Rhino right now.
Yeah, it's pretty close to that, honestly.
It's pretty hot in these rhinos.
Yeah.
Thank you, and a shout out to Nexus, by the way, for joining us live right now on Discord. He's listening over in Patron chat. Before I forget very quickly here, Adam, just wanted to give a shout out to Lisa M., one of our newest patron members, supporting us at the $10 mailing it out tier. No reviews, and we're still doing well in both Angola and Moldova, says Chris.
Hey, that's great. Great to hear. It's,
shout out to our listeners in
Angola
Angola
market,
and Moldova.
You find your niche, and you roll with it.
Before we get to the rest of Half Full, Half Empty, an email question from Miyime, and a reminder, you can always email us at c4@canuckshockeyblog.com. Quote, if you were suddenly the GM of the Canucks today, what would be your number one priority for the organization? Who would you try to actively trade away? And or is there a particular player or picks out there in the NHL you would want to trade for?
We did this last week.
Did we do this last week?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Shame on Chris for bringing this back up again. I can't keep managing all these things.
Hey, I mean, Chris takes the day off, he forgets how to host, right? So.
I mean, let's be honest. He's not listening this halfway into the show anyway. So
No,
you can say
he's
as much
turned
as
it
you
off.
want.
He's turned it off.
He's effective. Like, he will listen to the first 5 minutes for quality control, and then he
he'll
will
listen
have
to
turned
it
it
and
off.
be like, oh man, they're so much better.
So why don't you tell, like, what are your real gripes about Chris?
Oh,
First of all, you know what it is? It's the Overwatch crap.
Yeah.
Like, I respect Overwatch. Like, I learned that these players, by the way, did you know
They
this?
make so much
They
money.
make the Vancouver one. They make $50,000 US for starters, and they're none of them are older than 23 BTW.
Yeah, no, it would be.
They already make more than us.
Like,
They make more than us.
I work in a school with a bunch of 13 and 14-year-olds. All they ever talk about is Fortnite, and these Fortnite streamers make $50,000 a month
Yeah.
streaming a freaking video game. Explain that to me.
You know, Chris often plays games and he plays them on Twitch. Don't touch me. God, drink. Chris often plays these games and he streams them. I don't see him getting paid for them.
Yeah, Chris, where's the entrepreneur?
You have a daughter to raise, Chris. Get your life together. I do like Fortnite, though.
I haven't played it.
Fortnite's pretty fun. I've played with Nexus, actually.
Really?
That was a fun experience. I played with Nexus and Trev Goalie. Shout out to those two. Let's get into half full, half empty. Quick question. Canucks now have back-to-back wins for the first time in more than a month. 7 games left now before the Christmas break, Adam. Are the Canucks, are you feeling the opportunity that they could go on a bit of a run here before the holidays?
You know, sitting watching the game with my friend on Sunday, and we're talking, like, the team's not very good.
Yeah.
But there's optimism and hope, and we've talked about all that a lot on the podcast, I think. But no, I don't think the team's very good. So they could, because they have the talent. But
they're not going to lose 10 in a row, though.
No, they're not going to do that again. But I just don't think they're there yet. That's not, that's not a reason to be upset or, throw your arms in the air with the team. They have a direction that they're headed in, but they're just not there yet.
That brings me to my next part of the question, and this question came from Trev Goldie. He talked about how, the Vancouver Canucks this season are a little bit different from the Edmonton Oilers, if you will, from previous years. The Edmonton Oilers, they lost a ton of games with their young players in tow. These games were not even particularly close. It was a lot of losing, a lot of non-close games. The Vancouver Canucks, at least in those losses, that 10-game losing streak, they were in a lot of one-goal games.
Yeah.
And the question from Trev Goldie effectively is, does losing these close games that they had over the last month or so, does that help or hurt them in the short and long term?
I mean, it obviously hurts you in the short term because you're losing the games, but it is a couple boneheaded plays like that. Was it Dallas, a shorthanded goal? Atrocious, but fixable.
Yeah.
Very fixable. So there's a lot of these kind of things where I think there are teaching points with players who have seemed to responded to a lot of this. There's no negativity seeming to come from the locker room, and once they get better players, get rid of a guy like Del Zotto or Pouliot, then some of these things start to go away.
Travis Green has been a big believer in that process, if you will, and you see it in practice. I think Travis Green quoted it in practices today as saying, like, keep your feet on the gas pedal. And I think that's a good thing for him to be telling these young players, because just because you've strung together a couple wins against Nashville and a effectively soulless St. Louis team doesn't mean that you've accomplished anything. And it is this constant striving for perfection from Travis Green. And he wants the players to be held accountable. He wants them to earn every bit of ice time that they get. And I think that was lacking for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yep. And I also think with Green, it's go ahead, play, make a mistake, but if you do...
Get it right.
Yes, get it right. But it's not, I'm not going to, he's going to let them take those chances, make those mistakes.
Yeah.
Whereas a guy like Willie Desjardins would play Horvat 7 minutes a game, right? So I think that's a really good way to go about it with a young team is, let them do this. They have to earn their ice time, and if they make a mistake, they won't, but they still have, it's not an incredibly short leash.
And at the same time, the games have just been exciting to watch.
Yeah.
it's been really exciting. Even when they lose games, it's been exciting to watch.
Yeah, and you're frustrated because you know they had a chance to win the game. It's not complete despair. It's not 5-2 and bleak.
But it's not quite 2011 hockey, but it's
God,
it's almost as exciting as it was during that era.
Yes, because there's actually, like we said, something to be excited about.
That leads me to my next part of our discussion here, and this one came from NHL PR. Did you know 60% of Vancouver's goals this year have been scored by a player aged 23 or under?
Yeah, I saw that stat too.
65 of their 97 goals this season.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That's a good youth movement.
And that being the majority being Pettersson, Horvat, Goldobin, Boeser, Gaudette. I'm missing some names. Virtanen. Mott scored 4 of those, if you can believe it. That is a big chunk of their young players, and it's a big part of their youth movement as well. It's exciting to see because I feel we're at this tipping point, if you will, where we're seeing the young players get their ice time, and now we're starting to see the production show up. You add another couple young pieces to that equation next year. Quinn Hughes, maybe their 2019 draft pick. There's a lot to be excited about, and I just think that the playoffs may be a bit of a stretch for next season, but I don't think it's that far off anymore.
No, it's not. I think, for a football analogy, I don't want to say it's been as bleak and dark as it has been for the Cleveland Browns, but they have a quarterback. They have talented players, right?
Some good defensive players.
Finally, they're not making the playoffs this year, maybe not next year.
But they're winning some more games than they did last year.
Exactly, and playing a hell of a lot better, right? And I think that's very similar to where the Canucks are.
So if the Canucks finish, let's say, not close to the playoffs, but more 10th, 11th in the Western Conference, is that a success or a failure in your mind? Or is it all dependent on how competitive the games have been to that point?
Yes, I think that's it. If they finish 9th or they finish 15th, it doesn't really make a difference other than draft position, right?
Yeah.
So it's just really about how much the team has been able to progress. The players have been able to progress. And so far, it's been pretty good.
You sure sound like a guy who's not expecting Jack Hughes this season.
No, which is, it's funny. We're finally excited.
We're going to be back here in April. You realize that.
We are,
saying
for sure.
We want Hughes.
I know, but it's going to be the one year we're like, the lottery, we're not going to win it. And then we're going to win it. And then,
third time's a charm? Or is it the fourth time?
Fourth time.
Yeah, I don't know. Some quick hitters before we go here. Jake Virtanen, he has not been a healthy scratch yet this season. So far, 30-plus games into the regular season, is it safe to say Jake Virtanen will not be a healthy scratch at any point this season?
Well, if he keeps playing like he has been, I just ran the numbers. He's on pace for 23 goals.
Yeah,
which would easily be a career high.
It's a win, actually, if you're looking at Virtanen's long-term projections.
Yeah,
as well.
He's played, I think, very well this series. Played like a top 6, middle 6 player, and him and Horvat have been playing well together. There's reason for excitement with Jake Virtanen, which is something we haven't been able to say in a long time.
Not so much for Nikolai Goldobin, though. He has been a healthy scratch for at least a couple games this season. Is it safe to say Nikolai Goldobin will not be a healthy scratch for the rest of the season?
I think that healthy scratch was unfair. I thought he's been... he's got... How many goals does he have now?
I think he's only got like 4 or 5 goals this year.
Really?
But he's got
but
11
a lot
assists.
of points, right? Yeah, he's up there in terms of points with the team. He's been playing well, and he's not always granted the same opportunity some other guys are on the top power play. So he could be again just because he has been already. So we'll see. Why are you looking at me like that?
Chris Golden has chimed in patron chat. He's on to us.
Uh-oh.
We said all those things. I don't know. I don't know if you heard what we said. I would like to say, for the record, Adam was the one who effectively told you to get it a life, Chris.
Was I? No.
You pretty much said it.
No. I don't think so.
I didn't say that. I like Chris.
I didn't say it. If that's what you're hearing, that's what you're inferring.
Let's
Chris.
be honest. He's already checked out. Yeah. Damn it. This is why Chris is the weakest link of the podcast.
Whoa, see, Matt said that. Not me.
I don't even care. We are the ones carrying this team right now.
Sweating.
We are Pettersson and Boeser.
In this sauna, terrible heat box.
I noticed that your shirt has also slowly become unbuttoned. Was that top button always undone?
No, it was not.
See, this is what I'm talking about. He's slowly getting naked.
We're in the Rhino.
God. Oh, God, I saw what happened to Ace Ventura at the end of that. A quick discussion before we go. Canucks prospects, as World Juniors get closer, by the way, I'm counting down the days to the Canada-Russia game.
I love World Juniors.
I'm going to the Canada-Russia New Year's Eve, 5 o'clock, lower bowl. Cost me a lot, but it's going to be a great game. Fully expecting Michael DiPietro still to be the starting goaltender for Team Canada.
Yeah, so is everyone, it seems. TSN had a little feature on him with Duffy, I think, and everyone was saying expected starter. So can't imagine he wouldn't be.
Let's talk a little bit about prospects, if you will, on that note. A couple questions about the ceiling and the low end of those expectations for those players. So we'll keep it quick because we've got a few prospects to get through. The ceiling and the worst case scenario for Quinn Hughes.
Oh, that's tough. Cause
there are a wide range of outcomes, I feel, for Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, I could see him becoming a Ryan Ellis type, but I feel like he's more dynamic than Ellis. So I don't know what that would put him.
It's like Ryan Ellis or Philip Larson. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I swear, I hope that we're wrong on that. Larson, Derek Pouliot, whatever you want to call it. Like I'm saying,
Pouliot,
like a smooth skating defenseman that just lacks the smarts.
But it's not smooth; it's dynamic skating.
Yeah,
like that's
I don't think Quinn Hughes bottoms out to that kind of a player. I think Quinn Hughes at his worst is a top 4 defenseman.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Power play specialist kind of guy. God, it's going to be fun when he's on the power play.
Oh, I know. I'm already waiting. Is Michigan eliminated from the Frozen Four yet?
Yeah, no kidding.
Thatcher Demko, back in Utica. He's playing the games now for the Comets, I believe. Best and worst case scenario for Thatcher Demko?
I mean, best case is elite franchise goaltender.
Yep.
Worst case is... I don't even see him being
I can't see him
starter at worst.
I can't see him being a backup.
No, he's not like I think career backup. I think like Curtis Sanford.
I would say of all prospects, I feel Thatcher Demko has the safest floor, if you will. Like
yes.
He is the least likely to disappoint.
Like a Corey Crawford kind of guy who is.
I think that's fair.
Fine.
Yep. Moving on here down the list, Olli Levy. He has resumed skating down in Utica. Still no timetable for his return. With that knee injury that bothered him earlier this year. Where are you currently sitting on Levy?
Pretty low. I mean, whatever happens now, I think is a bonus. He's just hasn't progressed in any meaningful, very positive way. If you disagree, chime in. But
let me ask you this question. I'll follow it up with another question. Is Levy's stock at its lower than what it was for Jake Virtanen when he got sent down to Utica?
That's a good question.
Because they're both similarly high drafted
I'm gonna
prospects.
Say no. I think Virtanen expectations had bottomed out pretty hard there.
Yeah.
Levy, there's still a decent amount of hope.
Yeah. I think, still realistically, I think Levy could finish as a top 4 defenseman.
Oh, yeah. He's still got that.
But I think it's safe to say he won't be a top pairing defenseman, or at least not a great top pairing defenseman.
No.
Moving further down the list, and we'll get into some wild cards here, and you can hit me up with your quick ones. Michael DiPietro. He could be elite or he could be a backup.
Yeah, I think he's...
Wider range of outcomes than Demko.
Yes. I would say similar ceiling, lower floor, but I would still weigh it towards the positive and the negative with DiPietro.
Jonathan Dahlin.
I'm still pretty high on him. I don't know how he's been playing in Utica, to be honest with you, but I think he's got all the talent to succeed in the NHL.
Doing a lot better than these next few. Cole Lynn, Jonah Gadjevich, those have been healthy scratches on a couple occasions for the Utica Comets. Long-term projects, I think we can safely say, but what's the potential for both of those guys?
I mean, Jonah Gadjevich... I'm trying to think of the guy for the Ducks was picked 10th overall a couple years ago.
Nick Ritchie.
Yeah.
He could be Nick Ritchie. He could also be like Brad Isbister, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Like just a big 4th-line winger.
Yeah.
Which is very possible.
Which isn't a bad thing.
I mean, every team needs them, but Gadjevich being a 3rd-round pick, you could do worse than getting that.
2nd-round pick.
That's right. That was for the Torts year, I think.
Yeah.
Tyler Madden.
Yeah, he's been impressing. He had another big game. He's over a point a game, I think.
Yeah, I think his stock has risen the most, I would say, out of most of the Canucks prospects. Jet Wu, I think, his stock's rising a little bit, even though he was cut from Canada.
But he just was named WHL Player of the Week.
Yeah, exactly. So, despite being cut from Canada or not being named to the camp, I think that Wu's stock has risen a little
Yeah,
bit.
I still think he's got a lower ceiling than some of these other guys. He just doesn't have that offensive upside, which I think you kind of really need in today's game. But he's still, he's a top 4, top 6 defenseman. He's a safe.
I'll
he's a
err on
safe
the side
player.
of caution by saying, at worst, I think he's a top 6
Yeah.
defenseman. But I don't see him being a top pairing defenseman for sure, and I think top 4 would be pushing it.
I think he could be a poor man's Alex Edler.
I would say more of a poor man's Kevin Bieksa.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Hard, like he's not the biggest guy, but he'll challenge all comers.
Or even, Bieksa was never really a top pairing guy.
Bieksa had 40 points in one season. Did you know
really?
that?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, well maybe at his best, but for most of Bieksa's career, I could see Wu becoming that kind of player.
Yeah. As we wrap things up here on the C4 podcast, Adam, I'm going to double check, make sure Chris hasn't been talking more smack to us. Nope, hasn't been talking smack. Trev Goldie checking in just at the tail end of the show. So shout out to Trev Goldie. Thanks for joining us late in the show. But a reminder, you can download the podcast on everywhere. That includes iTunes, Spotify, I believe. I looked us up once upon a time.
Really?
I think we're on Spotify. You'll have to check in with the big dog about that one.
Is that Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you think I'm going to call Anna the big dog here?
She probably wouldn't appreciate that.
I don't think she'd appreciate that at all. Thoughts on the rest of the week? Again, games tomorrow, I believe, against the Columbus Blue Jackets coming to town as we get towards the end of the 2018 year and towards 2019. What are your thoughts?
It's nice just to end a calendar year with, no expectations, but just happy to go along with the ride.
A little bit of hope, too, I'd say.
Oh, definitely. But not hope for this year, just hope in general.
I mean, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. I just think it's very nice and refreshing to see that the Canucks' hopes at long-term success may ride on the shoulders of Boeser and Pettersson. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I think there are worse players you could put your hopes on. And the more
we
we
were
see...
putting our hopes on Hunter Shinkaruk.
Yeah, exactly. We were looking at Bo Horvat and Hunter Shinkaruk being like the dynamic duo of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And from what we've seen in the third of the season that we have, it's quite apparent Elias Pettersson is every bit as elite as we hoped he could be, maybe actually more than elite. And Boeser could be still a very good first-line right winger.
Yeah.
By the way, holiday gift ideas. We're still accepting ideas among our patrons on how to do Secret Santa for each other this year.
Oh, yeah. That's,
We need to set that up, like who will get who, and we'll set a gift price for everybody. I had a couple ideas for you guys, too. I had a couple of gift ideas.
Oh,
They were
God.
good ones.
Hey, here's a question for you. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes!
All right, good. Good answer.
100 times yes. And I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
Okay, I think... Should we stray a little off topic here?
Yes,
Okay.
very quickly.
Very quickly. Die Hard, Christmas movie for sure, but kind of in its own category for obvious reasons. So when you say favorite Christmas movie, you can say Die Hard.
Yep.
But put it aside. Think more holiday, less murder and guns.
So real Christmas.
Yes. Rank maybe your top.
Okay, so I grew up in the 90s, of course. So my favorite Christmas movies of all time are always Home Alone 1 and 2.
Yeah? I don't love the second one.
I thought the second one was actually better than the first one,
A lot
and
of
that's
people
a
do.
rare rarity.
No, I don't think so. A lot of people do, but I'm pretty meh on it. But I love the first. Just watched the first.
You know
one the
what?
other day.
Honestly, the first one was on CBC yesterday.
Oh.
I'm trying to think of other Christmas movies, to be honest, and I'm not.
How about Elf? Watched it in school.
Elf
today.
was okay, but you know what?
I love
Will
Elf.
Ferrell is not for me sometimes.
So, fair.
It depends on my mood.
But it might be my favorite Christmas movie. I love
Give me another one.
What's the
Santa Claus with Tim Allen. That one's underrated.
See, Tim Allen, not for me.
Okay, fine, fair enough.
What's the one with Arnie?
Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, that's
underrated.
That's a good one.
You know what though? Jingle All the Way was good in a it's so good it's bad type of way.
Oh yeah, for sure. Have you seen the
Sinbad was in that movie?
Yeah, I did know that. Have you seen played the Jingle All the Way drinking game where you put a Santa hat? Oh no, what is it? It's when you put a Santa hat on the corner of the TV, and anytime one of the characters' heads goes in there, you drink. But it's also there's a full game. You guys should look it up. whenever he's a bad father, whenever somebody
Yeah.
lies,
Yeah.
it's pretty funny.
One of the
You get
suggestions coming in late here from Trev Goldie. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. It's a little bit before our time, but I still liked it.
Also, It's a Wonderful Life. I still love it.
Yeah,
it's a classic.
That's even
It's a
more
classic.
before our time.
Oh, yeah.
As we wrap things up here on the C4 podcast, Adam, as I mentioned, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Spotify. Make sure you check us out on social media everywhere you go. You can find me at Matley_61 on Twitter, Adam FOC on Twitter, at Lightforce, and at A Forsyth03. Like us on Facebook, Twitter. I mentioned that already. Again, shout out to all of our patrons who are listening live. Thanks to those of you who have stuck it through from beginning to end. And those of you who joined in late, a reminder, you can always follow us in Discord at Discord/the C4 podcast. I believe that's in all upper caps. Any last words? No, you're good?
No, I'm good.
Awesome. With all that said, we're out. Bye, Chris.
Thanks for listening to the C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com.